back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Tim Sweeney bashes Microsoft. Good! And distance adds medals. I really think this will be the one thing to unite the player base forever.
Want a Steam machine?
No.
What if you can get one for really cheap? Still no. Vulkan everywhere, and not a DX12 bruh in sights.
SteamOS gets a much-needed update, and it takes forever to install it. NVIDIA attempts to settle the 3.5 gig class action lawsuit. I look forward to those $30 I may or may not be eligible to get.
I'm Vince Stone, here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, doing this nightmare fuel all into the Linux with a Linux joined every week by a damn Canadian podcaster from up north where it's nice and cold.
Bye, Linux.
Linux.
Hi, I'm Linux.
Hey, Linux himself. And Space Portugal, recovering from a meltdown of sorts.
Slight meltdown.
Pedro Mateus. And joined live by Chat Realm Dynamic, helping us create that tiny little bit we like to call cocaine. Voltron. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. Right now, not a whole lot. We get it, bro. The Sonic Vaporizer, it's about on its last leg organ. So I ordered this one that's just full of YOLO swag Doritos, right? And I'm waiting for it to come, and they're being kind of dicks about shipping, so maybe we'll go scorched earth policy on a company next week, ladies and gentlemen, and you're allowed to join in. Jordan, what's up?
Oh, I got nothing much going on, trying to find stuff to fill time.
Okay, that's great. What's going on, Pedro?
Fuck you.
Well, for me, the my boot and root SSD decided to nope just before the show. We usually start about an hour earlier, so we make sure everything's working. And my, that old, it's now 5 years old, OCZ Agility 360 gigabyte SSD decided to nope itself. And after 2 or 3 minutes of the OS running, it would just freeze my system. So I'm now currently working off of the SSD that was on the netbook, which is also an OCZ Vertex 3 SSD, 120 gigabyte. We'll hope that lasts.
So I mean, what you're saying is you need one of these, or
I wouldn't trust the
or maybe one of these. Who knows?
I know what we actually need. J-Baby is the horse.
You know, the horse has some issues about cross-platform compatibility and the prominence of proprietary standards. He's going to let you know about it in the Steam Linux update.
All right, that evil barber from Sweeney something Street. I hated that stupid movie.
Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, that was it. It was a horrible Carl. All right, throwing some more shade at the Windows and the Windows 10. He's like, the Windows Store is horrible. Who is he? Well, he's the big guy in charge of Epic, and he's basically the reason we have anything that rhymes with the word Linux coming out of Epic, Unreal Engine 4, and they're good support for it. He's basically saying what, Gaben said a while back when he was like, I need to create SteamOS. Why? Because Windows, they still have that bit of DNA in their system where they really want to latch on and lock people in because they see what Apple's doing. It's like, we'd like us some of that. Yes, please. And it's just never going to happen no matter how hard they try. Even their latest implementation couldn't even do actual full screen properly. It was adorably sad. But they're desperate to get people on Windows 10, so they're going to do some asshattery and cockness like this. And really the only thing they have left outside of stuff like this is something like DX12. You're like, hey guys, come on, we got DX12 on 10. Maybe all the gamers come over here. Good chance with that. I don't think DX12 is ever going to really go anywhere, and it has fuck all chance of keeping up with Vulkan development. What were you saying, Jim?
Well, I mean, the real issue Tim Sweeney brings up here is that his concern is that Win32 is going to get deprecated from here on out, which means that you're only going to be able to publish Windows apps to take advantage of good Windows features in the operating system using the Universal Windows Profiler install. Now, I don't think Win32 is going anywhere. Number one, there's way too much legacy software in place to just axe your 32-bit executable binary support. And they didn't even drop 16-bit compatibility until a decade after 16-bit CPUs were off the market. Like you couldn't use Edit or any of the other 16-bit DOS programs under Windows. But I mean, say what you will about Microsoft, they understand that they have so much legacy software they need to support, and they're not going to go and do something stupid like that. Plus, even if they do, there is another project out there that we know and love that will keep Win32 alive until the sun goes out, and that is the fine folks at Wine, who are now maintaining the open source implementation of the Win32 API. So that will be there no matter what.
Yeah, and you then mentioned in the notes that Vulkan works on Windows 7, which still has a sizable segment of the market. And thing is, Microsoft is actively trying to get people to forget that. And they, oh no, DX12 is the future, man. And of course, with Doom using Vulkan and people seeing the performance gain to be had from that. You gotta look at
what Sweeney's saying here, man. He does not sugarcoat this. He's like, we'll force a patch Windows 10 to make Steam worse and worse and worse intentionally, that, you know, Microsoft's going to go out of their way to break Steam to force people to the Microsoft store.
Yeah, and there's a reason Valve, you know Valve, right?
Never
not doing jack shit until shit hits the fan, Valve.
Oh,
those guys.
Now that you say that, I do remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of went out of their way to make SteamOS. Because they envisioned a future where Microsoft would start pushing people to publish their games in the Windows Store. They failed with Windows 8, but with the universal Windows platform and, you know, having Windows 10 and Xbone, you buy for one platform and you get the game for the other. It's giving people access on both platforms for the price of one. Yeah, they're kind of succeeding.
Sort of, kinda. It's not as flawless as I have my Windows profile or Windows platform executable. It's going to run effortlessly on both Xbox and Windows. There's going to be some code branching. It's just going to be more support that you need to cook into your application. But yeah, I mean the Windows 10 experiment. Well, they've already gone and axed the free period for now. We still got to wait and see if that's going to be a thing. But, you know, speaking of mandatory software updates.
Well, this one isn't exactly mandatory, but it's the new SteamOS update. It's 2.87. It comes with...
Oh, God! What's happening?
Yeah. It comes with
get out of the computer! We didn't watch the videotape!
Yeah, it has the AMD GPU Pro for people who have Bonaire AMD GPUs. And the NVIDIA driver has been updated to 367.27 because long-lived branch. And to be honest, it kind of needed that because it was still using the 358.00, 355.00.28.
So that's the OG Vulkan drivers out of NVIDIA is what you're saying.
Yeah, it was like the second revision of that. But yeah. So I had SteamOS installed for a while on the Steam box, and I decided, okay, so there's a new driver, let's just update. And I waited for half an hour, and it was still updating. And I looked at the HDD activity LED, and it wasn't blinking. So, okay, you just crashed, so I'm just going to reboot. Wouldn't reboot. So I went to the Steam forums and saw, oh, there's a bunch of people complaining, oh, there's black screens, and hey, there's this, hey, there's that. Okay, so
for a minute there you had me worried. I was thinking that your Steam box was doing a Xbox One in imitation by taking so long to update. Go ahead.
Yeah, because when I realized that by hitting the nope button, I probably borked my install because the update was in fact still running and it borked it completely. So I reinstalled SteamOS. I left the home partition alone, so it kept everything. That was kind of awesome. Good on Valve for adding that to the SteamOS expert install option now. But the reason was that DKMS was running single-threaded through the whole damn thing. And now, at that time, I had like four different kernel versions, and it had to build FGLRX, AMD GPU Pro, and the NVIDIA drivers for all of those kernels on a single thread. Even after the reinstall and just having the original kernel that came with the install and the one that came down from the update, it took nearly 15 minutes for that update to finish. Bit of a PSA, be more patient than I if you decide to update.
Well, I mean, that kind of just baffles my mind because number one, DKMS actually has a variable for determining the number of cores you use when you're recompiling modules, and that's usually set to whatever CPU count you have by default. Number two, why are you compiling all these drivers? You should have like a menu on install that says, hey, you're using GPU X, you need this driver. Cool, let's uninstall the other ones.
Yeah, but they don't. They actually load all of the drivers, and then when it builds init RD, it picks which driver is the correct one, and then builds the init RD and the grub with that driver in mind. But yeah,
right. So could it not just like DKMS blacklist those modules once it identifies the card? Right. That's all I'm saying.
It could have, but it didn't.
Valve, go do that with your installer or your update software. That's kind of miserable.
No, I mean, it would be great when SteamOS comes out of beta, because we can definitely stand to pick up a super cheap Dell.
Oh, yes. So you remember, we shat on this quite a bit a while ago. This is Alienware's attempt at the Steam Machine, the Core i5 model with the 860M. So it's sort of a gimped up
that most
on Mobo 750 Ti, really. But they are on sale now for the low price of $375, which, as this article from TechRaptor.net, the links to all this stuff is in our show notes, brings up. Is about in the same sort of price kick and range as your Xboxes and your PlayStations. Although I would say that, considering one of the big things with Steam machines is that you can upgrade them, and you can't really upgrade this one, you're not really getting the main Steam machine benefit.
Well,
but I mean, if you need a cheap TV box, it's priced to sell.
And it's got the small form factor. That's where the premium in price comes from. It's the form factor, because they actually managed to condense it down to a teeny tiny box. And
part of that's with the on-Mobo GPU. I mean, you're not going to have a full size PCI.
No, you can't replace the GPU, but you can upgrade the processor and the RAM and the SSD or the hard drive. You can change.
Oh yeah, because upgrading your Intel socket whatever processor grants you so much performance increase for the low nominal cost of an Intel processor.
$300 for an i5. Yeah.
But I mean, it's really something nobody wanted in the first place, and the fact that they're trying to price it as low as they can to make some money back doesn't really show a good future for the remaining first gen Steam machines.
They do. They did announce a while back that they were trying to sort of refresh the Alienware Steam machine with new specs, Skylake processors.
I'll tell you what they're missing right off the bat: extra promotion from Valve.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Valve is definitely 100% behind this and pretending that it never existed, right, guys? But then again, they said, we don't ever want to be in the hardware business. Buy our link, buy our controller. We're going to plug the shit out of that because we're making that. Steam Machine, you guys have fun. We haven't even finalized the operating system. Fuck you, that's why. I mean, it's completely reasonable that Dell, Cyber Systems, and a lot of other manufacturers jumped in and went, okay, we're doing this. Steam, you got our back. And Steam's like, yeah, we got your back. And it launched and said, you got our back. And Steam said, who the hell are you? So, this is not surprising that we're seeing something like this, an i5 system, half off of what it originally was. Still not a bad deal if you want something, a nice, like, overpowered Plex box, for the house or something like that, right?
I mean, it can still play games.
Yeah, true.
That 60M performs about on par with a 750. Not the TI version, but the regular 750. All right.
I mean, that's what you get for skipping the 8 series. But speaking of people who want to get out of hardware development, how about some people who want to get out of software development?
Yes, they do, because this is Storm United. You may remember we talked about this game several times, and we even tried to play it on multiple occasions. There was one time we
got one recording of it.
Yeah. There was that one time we managed to get the one recording of it, but apparently some guy in the Steam forums for Storm United got in touch with the Pixel Beam. That's the name of the development studio, and he says, and according to his post, that's just hearsay as far as I'm concerned, they're changing the name, the AI, the environments, and a bunch of other stuff in the game, which means
not to mention the entire team. Pedro.
Yes, they scrapped the current game and decided to make a whole new one. So this is that game, if you remember. It's that game that was supposed to be, it was $20 during early access and was supposed to go free to play after it was released. So what happens now? What happens to the people who already bought Storm United? The one which costs $20 now and was supposed to go free to play later.
Oh, remember when we spent $20 on Storm United as well? Because it was like, oh my god, it was the first Unreal 4 game on Linux.
Right, we totally bought a 4-pack of that. And then we played around for a little bit, and I was watching how the business was developing. And they finally get a little bit of financial backing, and the first idea was like, oh, let's go get office space. And I was just called it right then. I was like, this game's dead. Because
I mean, you called it really well as well, too, because they had no real strategy for growing or maintaining the company at all. And these guys dicked around. They had a product that didn't even work on Linux. After they had it working on Linux, it just stopped for a while because of some botched update. They've managed to run out of money, and then they flipped it off to someone else who wants the IP or just wants to absorb.
Yeah, we don't know the whole thing. As far as the validity of this, though, with like when you go to Ho Chi Minh and you look at that, on the next page in those forums, you can find somebody who's like, yeah, here's job listings for what this guy just said. So I think there's a certain amount of validity to what he was pointing out, and nothing of value was lost, as Jordan did point out. This was our first Unreal Engine 4 game on Linux on Steam.
Followed shortly by Arc, so if you want to go play a UE4 game, go
right. They're equally about as playable, if we're just going to be honest. Free survival weekend this weekend. Download Arc and try to load it and go, wow, I just wasted 20 minutes downloading that and uninstall it.
I mean, it worked a couple times I tried it, but, your mileage may vary. That's the wonderful world of Linux. But, I'm reluctantly crouched at the starting line.
Hey, man. Check it out. Our favorite game that is in early access, I think only in second place to Luguru, Rise of the Rabbit Pellets or whatever. Overgrowth. Great racing game. They have experimental build, 4581. A bunch of things in here just like meh. Don't care what they really did add. Great game, by the way. You might want to check it out. Reasonably priced. If you can find it on sale, definitely pick it up. Works flawlessly and has been working flawlessly in early access for like 3 years on Linux.
And therein lies the problem.
Yes. Maybe you might want to take it out of that early access, Brad. Maybe you do. But what they've added in this update is something I didn't even notice initially when I read them. I was like, oh, let's see if I notice anything new. Finished the track. It's got medals. You have your bronze, silver, and gold medal, because I just log in and see what this Yahoo's times are, and this cheating bastard with his map hacks. He's like finishing 3-minute maps.
That was just the
like
one map.
All right, you still did it, man. And I was like, all right, let me see if I'm going to beat one of Pedro's times. And I was getting close. It was like, ding. But it didn't ding like Trackmania. If you've ever played Trackmania, you know how you get that satisfactory. He's like, yes, I accomplished a thing because a small noise.
Actually, you can go watch the Twitch stream of these guys playing Trackmania to hear it for yourself.
Yeah.
Plug our own shit while we're at it.
No, man. But that was pretty much it for that update. I think what were you going to say, Jamin?
I was just going to say that look, at this point, really, and it's pretty plainly obvious to see, these guys have their cool little project. They're looking for ways to keep funding going to just so they can fuck around with their cool project.
Right.
Because this is basically what this has become. I don't think they're ever going to publish a game. This is, hey, we have all these cool features we want to implement because we want this in a racing game. Hey, give us money so we can do that. Yay!
They have money now. That was the thing. They published Nitronic Rush way back in the day with the MIT license, and they couldn't make money off of that. So now they're getting money. And they're like, we're going to keep this going.
At MIT, and MIT own the rights to the intellectual property.
Yeah.
But it's time to zoom in and enhance. You might remember Dex. We threw some chairs at it a while ago. It's a cyberpunk platformer RPG. It wasn't too bad a game. It was fairly in-depth for
a couple
the
bugs.
medium.
Oh man, it's coming to the PS Vita, which was recently announced as completely pwned today, so you can play your Super Mario Brothers 3
it's true. You can go play some Mario 3 if you get tired of playing Dex. But they have an enhanced edition. They're releasing it as a free update to all the PC havers, and they're going to be releasing the enhanced edition on all the filthy peasant consoles. It's basically a bunch of UI improvements. They had save games like at any point in the games. The cyberspace and augmented reality UIs are updated. Better sound effects and whatnot. And you get some free DLC. You get 3 snazzy costumes that you can get if you complete an in-game mission. So that's definitely a thing. I mean, it was a decent game. I think it walked away with either 2 or 3 chairs. If Cyberpunk is your thing and you like old school beat 'em ups, this might be for you. So check it out.
Yeah, I remember playing it, and I remember that it was like, yeah, apparently Cyberpunk games not my thing.
No, it was a very well thought out game. It's just, if I remember the CHAIRQUISITION correctly, it had some implementation issues, but they're fixing a lot of bugs and they're changing some of the stuff around, and being able to save whenever you want is a pretty big plus in my book. So maybe I'll go back and actually finish it this time around.
It's always good to see people fixing defective products.
Yes, up next we have the fact, because, and a big thanks to the
All I'm
devs for
saying
sending us
is
keys.
you got some balls if you're showing me a picture of a pigeon in a spacesuit, and it is not voiced by Norm Macdonald.
It can't. It's. I don't think there's voice acting in this game, so it can be in your imagination.
Yeah, in your imagination it can be, but yeah, no, this is Defect. It's a game where you build your own ship, and then you go through the missions and you kill other ships, and you get their parts and then improve your ship. So not quite. You build a ship. So I have it in the show that says, yeah,
yo dog, I heard you like building ships so they can be taken over so that you can build another one to destroy the first one, only to have the first one or the second one that you build taken over as well. And
yeah,
you get
before the
this infinite
tutorial's
cycle.
over, you've built like 2 ships and they have been taken over, stolen, or blown up. It's, yeah. They make it a point, it's like, build your own ship, make it good. And I think they sort of succeeded at that. We will probably be throwing chairs at this at some point.
Don't make your ship too good, because you're gonna have to explode it later.
Yeah,
So it's
and there were a couple of issues, at least on my end, because I added the wings and the thrusters and everything, and my ship still steered like ass. It was pretty fast, but it didn't steer all that well. So,
I mean, if you want to thrust into ass, you're gonna need some bigger rockets.
yeah. But speaking of, let's not go.
Speaking of ass.
Speaking of people who actually sent us keys, the guys at Zoom, because that's how it's pronounced. I heard it pronounced earlier today. They also sent us keys. Boris from the development team. After I sent him an email, he came back and was like, "Here's your personal ticket to hell." Okay.
Of course, this guy's name's Boris.
What? Michigan? Norway? What hell are we talking about?
No, it's just I can't remember his last name, but it's Boris. And
Boris
this is
Karloff,
a first-person runner game where you basically compete at a leaderboard to get the fastest time to finish a level, and it works reasonably well. At least on my end, I was getting like 300, 400-ish burps.
Yeah, I remember. You threw this nightmare fuel
so.
in my direction yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And I was looking at that. I was like, oh yeah, I remember seeing screenshots of that. That looked like it was going to run like liquid ass, and because it just had that look to it, and it was like. But then I first loaded it, and Go ahead, Jordan. I don't want to take your engine thing, because that was my first thought,
I was
too.
going to say, this looks like something made with the Quake 2 engine.
Right, or
I would expect 300 FPS performance minimum, right? Incidentally, did you know that the Dark Places engine is available in the default Fedora repository? I found that out. You can just install it, and away you go.
No, but speaking about this, I mean, this is a Unity game, and high 200, 300 with everything on 11 at 1080p, easy peasy. You can definitely play this at UHD, and it is Twitch bait made and conceived in hell.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's going to be fun. Probably going to play some of that. Might stream some of it, because I was genuinely frustrated around level 3, because this game is frustrating in the ways of like, fuck you, you're going to get angry on the stream, aren't you? And I was like, yes, game, I would be, but I'm not streaming right now.
Oh man, I'll totally kick in for that. I totally just want to egg you on. Full on Ben rage on Twitch. Twitch plays Ben. That's what we're gonna call it. But yeah, no, it's like that other game that's with the similar concept, where it's a platformer where you still can't see your feet.
Deadcore? Dreadcore.
Deadcore, Dreadcore, or something like that. Except instead of hell, it was all futuristic, cybery, matrixy. But it's essentially the same thing. You have it looks like you have a teleporting mechanism. And again, platforming where you have no frame of reference for your feet. So you like to overshoot things? I know I do. But speaking of overshooting, I think we overshot this segment. Coming up next, you can buy a brand new video card for the low price of $99.99 and not be able to use it on Linux for the next 3 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you definitely should be watching us live. But hey, this is usually the news segment, but we'd like to thank some very special people this week.
Oh yes, some guy from not Russia, maybe the opposite of Russia, and 2 other guys have both contributed to the financial and philosophical nightmare that is Linux Gamecast Weekly, and you can too by heading on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. Support our wonderful little Patreon campaign that helps pay the bills. Oh man, we're almost at 175, where we actually get regularly scheduled streams. That's going to be good if we can hit that. We're $12 away from that, so maybe even you can make that difference. And if like 2 people sign up for the Chicago Kicks Ass backer level, number 1, Chicago kicks ass, and you know it, and you're proving it to us. And number 2, we'll get some live streams. But we do want to thank David P., Mr. Fox Dog, who's upside down. We need to write his name in Cyrillic so that we can save him precious bandwidth.
Brick Simulator.
Yes, author of the illustrious Brick Simulator, that game that should have won like all the awards at all the shows, including all the Mountain Dew sponsorships. And we had a PayPal donation by Joseph C., who says, "Love the show, keep up the good work." Speaking of PayPal, if you don't want to donate to us via Patreon, we got a support the Chosen page. You can click on it, or if you want to scroll down all the way to the fucking bottom of the LinuxGameCast.com page, we have our affiliate links conveniently placed there so that you can give us free money whenever you buy shit on Amazon. Really, it's to make Ven stop forgetting to click on the affiliate links.
Absolutely true story. Yeah, Ven totally added that because he maybe 3 days ago ordered something and went, "Ark." So
don't make Ven go, "Ark." He might die.
Definitely put that in the footer. Yeah, but thanks to David and to Mr. Fox Dog and Joseph C. And anyone else who's been sitting there on the fence thinking like, oh man, maybe I want to help these guys out. How about Linux? How about gaming? And all this nightmare fuel that they like to do that hopefully provides you with a little bit of entertainment. Thanks for everyone who's joined Team LGC Cares. It's a bit brilliant. And
this
we do have things to give back to you. That's a good thing about Patreon.
Yes.
You get some bonus rewards and some nightmare fuel made especially for you. Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday. Pedro, we have a thing we're giving away just for Patreons.
Yes, we are. If you reply gimme to last Wednesday's Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday, you are eligible to win either Skullgirls or Payday 2. So get in there if you're one of our Patreons. Leave us a comment there, and we'll probably... you don't really have much competition right now, so...
You know, it'd be even better prize as if Pedro put up his 1080.
No.
Okay, let's get into the news because we're talking super cheap from PC World in the show notes. Come check it out. We got the full details for the AMD Radeon 470 and the 460. They got specs and release dates. Oh my God, that's not a Nano, is it? No, it's not.
No.
It's a Panini.
But it is, I believe, completely PCI Express powered. So that's definitely
this one is, and can actually say that without exploding your motherboard.
No, but they are definitely out there clocking in. Let's see, the $200 RX 480s, if you can find them, because apparently they only made that one shipment and they've been going out forever. But the the 460 is going to be coming in at $99. That's almost kind of hard to believe.
That's cheap. How many CUDA cores or compute cores do you even get with that, man?
Like 6.
I know, right?
They have the
according to the spec sheet,
470.
14 or 896 compute units or stream processors, which reduces to 14 compute units, whatever the fuck that actually means.
Yeah. Its compute units is 14, so that's about
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely saying like the 460s for esport gaming, your Dotas and your CSGO stuff like that. They're saying, now this would be interesting to see how it pans out, that with their, when we see some real benchmarks, but they're saying it's going to be on par with the 750 Ti from NVIDIA.
So that's gonna be
actually, it should perform better than the 750 Ti on your Windows. With the Vulkan game.
I mean, it's funny that you mention it, because apparently the Vulkan drivers for Linux AMD are not terrible. You actually get something close to what you're getting with NVIDIA. And Mesa / Radeon SI / AMD GPU are almost fully OpenGL 4.5 compliant. So AMD cards are finally starting to become usable under Linux. I mean, you might have to wait a couple of years for all the features to catch up.
A Vulkan driver for the AMD open source implementation that's being worked on. There's a very early version available right now.
Wow! They're actually making good with their promise. That is a legitimate.
No, I think it is a great
coming out of AMD.
thing. I mean, at least on the Windows side. I mean, I don't even know if NVIDIA saw this coming, but AMD definitely has locked the low end down.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're pulling out something stupid with the 1050.
Yeah, I mean, granted, the 460 will probably get trounced by Iris integrated graphics on Linux. Let's just be honest with each other.
But this year, maybe in the future.
But I say that as someone who still has blind hope for Zen, and I got to maintain my blind hope that AMD will eventually pull a summer with their Linux drivers and get their shit together. We can only hope. But think about it this way, though. For 99 What Stinky Caches, you can at least join the discrete graphics club. However, yes, mind you, you will have to sit at the kids' table.
Along with the 750 Ti's.
Well, I mean, we'll see how they react with the Mesa drivers once they get that support. But Pedro, you're due for your $30, aren't you?
Money.
Apparently, yes. So, as you may remember, I have a GTX 970 Strix. And there was a bit of news a while back that someone was putting together a class action lawsuit against NVIDIA because of the whole 3.5 gig thing. Now, since we're going to be talking about NVIDIA for the next couple of stories, they have actually settled or attempted to settle the class action lawsuit before it even gets to court. And they said that, okay, so it's not actually 4 gigs of pure GDDR5 memory. The last half a gig is only running at 1 gigabyte per second, which is 16 times less than the rest of the 3.5. So, they said that those $30 for each and every single card should be enough to compensate people for not getting the full 4 gigabytes. And they also
that's about half what you'd pay for half a gig of RAM, right? $30.
Yeah. No, you can actually get 4 gigs for $30. But
that's
yeah, no,
the joke.
It's they also agreed to pay 1.3 million in attorney fees, according to those proposed settlement documents.
So the real winners here are the lawyers, as usual.
Yes, as usual. So we'll have to.
There's another thing you need to keep in mind. If you purchased it through Amazon, Empties Correct and Shot Realm, only if you're in the States, you can just start up the Amazon chat thing and be like, "Yo, NVIDIA 970," and they'll be like, we got you, bro, and they'll take care of you with that business. What were you saying, Pigman?
Yeah, no, it's MT was actually saying that the class action lawsuit is US only, but NVIDIA have often, whenever they do come out on the losing side or they decide to settle something, as was the case, with the NVIDIA Shield tablets. Yes, they actually sent replacement units worldwide, so probably if they want to settle this, they'll probably open the $30 rebate, whatever you want to call it, a settlement as a worldwide thing, or so.
What's that in euros? Like 2-3 euros or something?
It's like 25 euros, 24.
Compared to Canadian dollars, probably, yeah.
And in Canadian dollars, that's like $1,000. That's a pretty good deal.
Well, since we're on the topic of DX12.
Oh yes, DirectX 12. Well, this is the 2016 OpenGL NVIDIA drivers. This brings us up to speed with the 2016 spec released in July. It supports cards all the way down to the 400 series, and it comes with a couple new features that are now outright supported in the drivers that were supported in the hardware. Like for the 600 series or newer, you can start using Spur V shaders that have to be fully vetted, fully compiled and everything instead of GSL shaders. It doesn't straight up mean you can just port your Vulkan shaders over to OpenGL. You got to produce them first, and then OpenGL can just run them. There's also something involving rectangles for the 400 and series GPUs, and you get a blend equation for the 10,000 or the 1,000 series GPUs. So Pedro's very, very happy about that. So all you CAD software developers, rejoice! You can now supercharge your rectangles in your computer-assisted drawing software that you develop and sell, and are watching LinuxGameCast because of.
Yeah, this just brings the NVIDIA drivers up to full OpenGL 4.5 compliance, like Jordan mentioned. The update came out July 7th this year, so NVIDIA's, well, they're like 3 weeks late, but at least they are far, far ahead of AMD and Intel in that respect.
Yeah, and according to you, Pedro, some of the Xconfig issues go away with this revision.
Yes, they do. You no longer have to rejigger your XOR after installing these drivers like you had with the 367-35 ones.
So that's the thing. But you know, it's a bit weird talking about NVIDIA GPU drivers this late in the news segment, but there is something else sort of piggybacking on that, right there.
Yes. Well, that's a little bit of fun and excitement. NVIDIA.
Yeah, it's just slide to the left. Jump to the right.
Jump to the right, man. No, let's just scroll in here because this is a nice little GUI tool, but I've already enabled the cool bits options in my YOLO swag. Yeah, all right. Well, let's just face it, NVIDIA, call me. But after you've done that thing's a bit cryptic because sometimes I don't want to do maths when I'm like, I need to minus whatever to get this back to this with a memory plus, whatever. I just want slidey graphy things, and that's what this does. It gives you slidey graphy things for your GPUs, your shaders, and your memory, and you can do your fan. Yes, we also know that's available in the NVIDIA, control panel.
I'm a fan of it.
But, I mean, this thing has support for automatic overclock on reboots and all the fun stuff right here. I kind of like it. I think it's a little bit of neat. It is priced to sell as an open source, as in free, and basically will run on the anything. And as Strider's pointed out in Chat Realm, it is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I mean, aesthetically pleasing.
It looks like it was written in Qt3 or 2. I think one of the older XFCE themes matches this, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, no, for some reason, whenever I tried this with the 970, it never worked.
Really?
On the 1080, I haven't tried it because the G1 from Gigabyte comes with a default boost clock of 1860 megahertz, but it usually actually levels out considerably higher at around 1900 when it hits the 75 Celsius that it was binned at. Which, when compared to the default 1733 megahertz on the Founders Edition for the 1080, it doesn't really need that much more of an OC, if you ask me. Especially if we're talking about OpenGL games getting bottlenecked on 2 or 3 cores of the FX8370E.
That's what I was going to say. You need to get yourself an Intel CPU if you want to realize.
Yeah.
But we are all about open source and open source games because we love the crazy people who like to devote their time to making quality games that you can play for free, like the fine folks behind the Dark Mod who have released a new 2.404 version update. It actually comes with a bunch of really cool stuff. They were saying that they wanted to focus more on the back-end engine because they have a bunch of high-quality assets coming in, but they would rather have everything working before they start making it look pretty, which I am 100% behind. They've fixed AI stuff. They have breakable objects now. They have quick save corruption addressing, where they alternate the quick save file so that if your game gets borked, you can still recover from an earlier quick save. And they've improved loading times, so those shaders will compile super duper fast. But like I said earlier, you can just download the Dark Places engine and run this, or if you want to build it yourself, you can. It's available. It's good stuff.
I downloaded it. I mean, it's got an easy, even an Arch user. I mean, Arch users can run this script. Trust me, it's that easy. Tried it, installed it. It takes, because it downloads everything from Space Tanzania over CDMA. So be prepared for that. Runs like a bit of ass. I got to be honest. Yeah, I just, slapped everything on, first it launches a 640 by 480. That looks delightful on a 28-inch panel. Once you get over that, I just got it to 1080, cut everything up. It wasn't herky-jerky, but you could tell it was barely hovering over 30 frames a second. Never really got into the game page review. Put some time into it.
A little bit. It ran... Well, it didn't exactly run spectacularly, but it's good to see that they're actually putting work on the back end before they introduce the new stuff, like Jordan said, because it's been almost a year since the previous release, and they say in the post that the community has donated a bunch of assets and textures and models and a lot of good-looking stuff, but they have to solidify the code base that they're working with before adding the new assets in. So good on them for that. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, speaking of open source, these next two stories really bring a smile to that pitch black void in my chest that occasionally will squirt blood through my body. This is from Axel Netling on Twitter. He has a GitHub page with a Vulkan port of Quake 1, which is kind of brilliant. There is some steps that aren't really documented to get this up and running. You need to set your Vulkan SDK location variable, or just hack the make file to hard code it. I recommend doing it the first way because it's a little cleaner. But yeah, no, it builds, it runs. I mean, it is definitely a thing. It is Vulkan Quake. Woo.
I was very excited about this. This was definitely a thing. I was like, whoa, we're gonna do this. Working on some other stuff that was Vulkan related, and NV encode and other stuff. Anyway, finally got it to compile, because it just finally did after some cockery. Got it to launch a window and hang. And right when I was thinking about, all right, we're really going to sort this, Pedro chimes in and says, guess what? It has some issues.
Yes, it does, because I did manage to get it running. They have the demo files available in the repository, so if you look around for them, you'll find them. VSync is always on, and disabling it, if you are in game and you go to the options menu and you disable VSync, segfault, core dump, not doing it. And then let's say you go to the .cfg file that they have in the id1 folder. You go there, you find VSync, and you put it at 0. You save the file, you'll launch the game, and you'll get a little notification on Get saying, oh, the file has been changed. Would you like to refresh? And you hit refresh, and VSync is back at 1. And I also tried vblank _ mode equals 0 and _ GL vblank mode for the NVIDIA drivers also at 0. But of course, this isn't a GL game, so neither one of those environment variables did anything.
Hey,
so it was stuck at 60.
Yeah, I mean, and this is really good, because combined with the next story, it means that there's a lot of people out there in the free games community who are working on Vulkan and getting familiar with it.
This wasn't just some rando that did it. I mean, this is a guy who's currently working on the Quake engine. So the Doom.
The ID Tech 6.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. The guy knows what he's talking about. Actually, one of the things I noticed is, if you go into this thread, or actually no, it's the next one. So let's cock on over to that story. Mm-hmm. This is the feature complete version of the Vulkan backend. We brought it up a couple weeks ago. This is the one. There was some awesome discussion in this thread about proper Vulkan programming, and that's exactly what I want to see. People are actually getting the knowledge and spreading it around. like so much pudding at a Canadian wedding. But the backend is complete, and when I say complete, I don't necessarily mean working.
Small glitches.
You will get some small glitches here or there. This is this one guy's work. But he does say you can probably play some games now, and compared to OpenGL on AMD, there is supposedly a 25% performance increase. There's also a slight performance increase on the Intel GPUs, not by much though. And this guy can't test Iris or Intel IGPs because his computer's Intel card just doesn't really work. So give this a shot. Give your feedback, because it would be nice to have Vulkan with full, or not Vulkan, Dolphin with full Vulkan support. Yeah.
No, I mean
It's Dolphin.
Definitely neat. I mean, it's Dolphin. That's like I remember back when I got my first dual core processor AMD. And I was like, we're gonna play some Dolphin games. I was like, fuck no, we're not. No. Tried some Soul Edge. I was like, tick, tick, tick.
That would have been Yabos, wasn't it? Because Soul Edge was PlayStation and Saturn.
That came out for the GameCube.
Soul Calibur did. Soul Calibur 2 did.
Oh, that was the first Soul Calibur, yeah.
Or whatever the name scheme
Yes.
is for the game. The game that has 6 different names depending on what region you're in. That one.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Fahrenheit or Phantasmagoria or any of these games, really. But, Vulkan backend, it's complete. It's not quite merged into Dolphin just yet, but it's coming soon. But what is coming now is the hurricane. Get ready for the sucking and the blowing. And also a video game that has some controversy. Life is a lot of things. Life is ugly. Life is hard. And according to this game, life is strange. It's from Don't Nod Entertainment, ported by Feral Interactive, brought to you by fine folks at Squeenix. It's built on the Unreal Engine 3, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. It is you follow the story of Max Caulfield, a photography senior who discovers she can rewind time while saving her best friend Chloe Price. Feral did sent us keys. The game, you can get it for about 20 of your currency for all 5 episodes. The first episode is free. If you want to try that out, you can. So let's kick off the chairquisition. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's awesome. We also have our categories of Doom, which we throw the chairs at, mixed with the working, shiny sounds controls, and the subjective category, fun. So let's kick this off. Then, did Life is Strange work on your standard hardware with your standard distribution?
Oh, here in Standard Man land from Standardsville on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS box, with a 980 powering a UHD displayed monitor right in my faceness. Actually getting just at 1080. Didn't even bother to try it at UHD, but at 1080 with basically everything cranked, averaging between 60 and 100. And first I was really impressed by that till I started to put some time into the game. And well, it better be that, because each open area world is roughly 6 by 6 meters inexplorable before you go into basically another room, no matter where you're at. One thing I was a little worried about, but I would say, Feral, you did a good job on this, is when you start it in desktop mode, you get the Feral screen of, that thing, but you don't hate that thing, because sometimes that thing can save your nuts. Absolutely. But if you start it in big picture mode, automatically, you don't have to deal with that. I thought I was going to...
it's good they figured that out.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, is this going to piss me off? Because, I mean, this game's we're going to talk more about the control section, but you definitely want your controller organ for this. But yeah, Automagic, good job on that. One thing I really wanted to get a chair for, but I can't, because it's considered industry standard practice, is 20 seconds of unskippable bullshit every time you start the game. Don't like that, but 4 chairs. It did all of its business.
Hashtag Wintel over here on Team Blue. On the desktop with the i7-6700K and the GTX 980, at UHD, I'm getting around 45 FPS if I knock that down to with everything on max. If I throw it down to 1080, then I get 120 FPS regularly on the desktop, and on the laptop with the i7-6700K or HQ and the GTX 960M, I'm getting about high 50s, low 60s with everything cranked up at 1080p. Though what kind of bugs me is why I can't auto detect your native resolution instead of just starting at 720p. Gotta go into the menu to fix that. Beyond that, 4 chairs.
That, or you just go into the feral scream of ugh, and you change it there. Yeah. But I had read in several places that Life is Strange on Linux had issues with Pascal GPUs. And since I have the Gigabyte G1 Gaming 1080,
brought to you by who?
I was finding it kind of odd that the moment I opened a browser window on the second monitor, it would basically cap the FERPs at 43. And if I closed it, I got like 70, 80-ish around there. But then I started it on the Steam box, and I started playing it, and oh, wow. I don't have the FERPs counter to prove it, but it plays much, much smoother with the 970. So, Harold, you done goofed on me again. This was, of course, tested on both SteamOS 2, Brewmaster, and Ubuntu Mate 1604 LTS. With the FX8370E and the GTX 1080 on this box, and the AMD 860K and the GTX 970 Strix on the Steam box. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for Makes with the Working. Up next is Shiny and Sounds. Morty, how'd it go?
Tiny Ben. It looks kind of like a bit of meh. I mean, something released in 2015, but considering that they are using the Unreal Engine 3, originally released in 2004, yes, I know it's had updates, it could look worse. And it really doesn't. It does suffer from immortal jaggies. You can't get rid of them. It doesn't matter how much of the anti and the aliasing you throw at it. They're still going to be there. I mean, it's the thing. Jordan saw it. You had yours cranked to 11. You can't get rid of them. I couldn't get rid of them either.
I couldn't get rid of them on a 980 with an i7.
And for the first time, I found myself going, I want my Tress FX or some type of Hairworks, because apparently everyone in Oregonsville uses like 9 cans of extra firm hairspray, because hair does not move in this game, son. It doesn't at all. It is like just baked on the head organs. It's kind of a thing. But that's kind of the shinies. It looks all right. It's nothing to write home about. 2015 game, they're going for like an Art Deco simulation type thing, especially with some of the artistic choices when you look at pictures and paintings and stuff like that. It's kind of a just like a watercolor interpretation type thing. I can dig it. Not going to hate on it. What I will hate on is the ironic use, well, the non-ironic use of hella. Not once, not twice, not 3, but 4 fuck-mothering times in the first 30 minutes of gameplay. Hashtag smiley face. Yeah. Actually, there's a lot of dialogue in this game, especially in the first story, the first chapter, that I'm just removing from my dialogue, period. It's just too cringy to deal with from further on. But the music definitely wants me to watch Felicity and build a log cabin. That's all I can say about it. Really nothing to hate on, but nothing to fanboy about. So we're going to give it 3, I think deservingly.
Yeah, and I think the voice acting is hella spot on too, which is not saying much considering, it's hella Squeenix, who is hella well known for their good animation and hella good voice direction, minus, Titus from... and my boner's dead. Thank you, Pedro. But like Ben said, there is some jaggies. The Unreal Engine 3 is really showing its age, and this is abundantly apparent when you get to see the tornado that is the centerpiece of this game. It is a textureless mess that they keep coming back to, and it just doesn't look good. I don't know what they can do about that other than making a better tornado texture. Also, the water effects. This UE3 does not do particle effects very well, because water looks like jelly beans when they're in the pool scene and they're doing their splashing around. Oh, that did not hold up. And also, as for the soundtrack, indie rock, my eternal nemesis. I brought it up last week. I want the option to replace the soundtrack with my own music. And then, yeah, it's just going to be all to black metal, and it'll be amazing. So I'll give that 3 chairs for Shiny and Sounds.
It's not just indie rock, but I'll get to that. They sort of minimized, this is a good thing, they minimized the feeling of the uncanny valley you get from looking at all those heavily stereotyped people around the pair of pants that you would call a main character, but we'll get to that too. It was definitely a very good idea to have everything be heavily stylized. The background music is not just indie rock, as Jordan mentioned, there's country. There's a lot of country music. Now, I get it. It fits the small Oregon town, the all-American atmosphere, as it were. When it comes to aesthetics, I can't really complain in this game, so I'm going to give it 4 chairs.
So that's 3 chairs for Shiny and Sounds, and y'all have died of dysentery. Moving on to Control.
It works. Nothing to complain about. That starts up, and of course it's a Squeenix game. First thing it's going to do, checking for DLC. Give me more money. But fortunately, Feral was kind enough to give us all the business, so that's definitely a thing. Press any key to continue. When you do that, I'm definitely going to take the Pepsi challenge. I took it with the X-Clone controller. No issues. Everything mapped correctly. The buttons were there. Pressed them. They worked. Very logical to play like that. Sit back, relax type of experience. There's not a whole lot of fast-paced action in this game, and even when there kind of is, it's not really that much of a deal to worry about if your controls are hyper-accurate, but we'll get to that more in the fun section. So I'll give it a solid 4.
I played the entire thing with the Steam controller. And aside from, there's a small issue where if you're highlighting an object, you have to be in the exact right spot in order to bring up the context-sensitive menu. And that can get annoying, because if you're standing right in front of it and it's highlighted, but you're not getting the button prompts, you gotta find a way to reposition yourself. It's not fun. Also, shit, brain. That's right. The B button is back in some menus and not in others, which was really annoying for some password hacking segment where B was one of the options, and A was the go back button, which is just bad UI, considering there's been, the standard thing where A is go forward, B is go back. Sort of been done since, I don't know, the NES. But yeah, beyond that, no real issues. 4 chairs for controls.
Yeah, when the mistress wasn't timing out on me during the cutscenes without me realizing it, the controls, well, they worked well for the limited use they get, but I'm getting ahead of myself. For the controls, it works. Everything was as I expected to be mapped. I have basically the same gripes as Jordan, so 4 chairs.
All right, that's 4 chairs for control. Let's wrap this up, and this is where it gets hairy. So, fun, then. Did you enjoy yourself?
I'm kind of glad this game never really got hairy. That would be very frightening. Here's something I thought I'd never get to say, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This was definitely not a better love story than Gone Home. You're Drunk, the video game. At least Gone Home had a quasi-believable story and a good narrative, and you were a little bit interested in it. There was calling Gone Home a game. There was like one gaming mechanic in the entire thing, and it was like, say it's a game, and give it all the awards, which they did. Actually, I would like the writers of Gone Home to switch with the actual animation riggers and developers from Life is Strange and kind of throw that around and give them a functional script, because the script in Life is Strange, I mean, it's just balls out retarded. Nobody does that. Nobody talks like that. I don't know who this game is made for, because if you give this to a tween, you're probably going to get arrested for like child harassment, because the language in this thing and some of the adult situations definitely not meant for anyone, particularly, in the 12 to like 16 or whatever age area. And then you're dealing with me, No, not really made for that either. I was like, yeah, it's a bit cringy. But then again, I've always wanted to experience the American high schools through the lens of game developers trying to be with it, whatever it is. Hashtag The Simpsons, hashtag cringy as fucking all. Like I said, there's a lot of words that I'm just noping from my vocabulary thanks to this game. And I don't want to open this can of chainsaw, but why am I forced to play as a cisgendered female? Because, I'm Airwolfkin, right? And that's just not right.
Bring out the mayo.
Hey, man, some people are like, yeah, why are we saying? Other people are like, oh, God, Vin, please let that be a joke. And to both of you, I will respond, maybe. Who knows? But, then we find out later on that the character, your protagonist, she's 18. I was like, 18. I was finishing my first year of university at 18. I wasn't cocking around like, oh, my God, here's a problem. Time travel. Okay, you can reverse time. That's brilliant. But you know what? I was responsible enough to use my time-traveling powers to overthrow third-world dictators for fun and fuck-mothering profit, not mope around solving other teenager drama issues. Unlike this girl, and couldn't really identify with it. And probably I shouldn't identify with that because that would be creepy as fucking all, right? But that raises a question. I want some hate mail from Shout Realm. I want some hate mail from YouTube. By hate mail, just some communications, because I know there are people like me around my age that have played this and like, hey man, this is a really good game and I like it. I want some of those reasons to just help me understand, maybe see what I'm missing. Tell me that. I do mean that. But that's kind of it. I'm just not able to relate with anyone in the game. Went through the first chapter twice. Once with Jordan. We did it on Twitch. Go find that. It's still available on demand. And I went through it myself, basically making the opposite choices. Ended up in the same place. I'm about halfway through the second story, the second chapter. And yeah, I'm just like, everything's over the top. Everyone's over the top. This is like a really bad sitcom. And the only thing I could even possibly identify with is the life-destroying tornado that gets referenced every now and then. So, if the game had press X for Tiny Vin, maybe we could have done a little bit better, but gotta be honest. Again, Farrell, you did an awesome job of porting this. This is not on you. This is for whoever this game is targeting. They need to help me because it just wasn't me. I'm going to have to give it one share.
High school drama. Hipster high school drama. So no. All right, so let's get this out of the way. This is an interactive movie. The precocious stepchild of the point-and-click adventure genre, which I'm not particularly partial to. I didn't really get into Fahrenheit. I'm not really into Heavy Rain. That stuff never appealed to me. And the gameplay basically devolves into trial and error, the game. So that brings us to this story, which, I actually liked a little bit. I've just gotten off of binge-watching Stranger Things on Netflix. I highly recommend that if you're into Twin Peaksy Stephen King type drama with spooky stuff going on in a town with a secret with some light sci-fi elements. And what Stranger Things did right that I think this game did wrong, at least with the story, is I like science fiction with competent people using their intelligence to solve problems, and the resistance coming from the fact that you're never working in an ideal situation, things go wrong, not everyone's working towards the interests of the group. In this game, I find that the protagonist makes a lot of really bad decisions, even with good information, which, I mean, yeah, you're a hormonal high school kid. I guess it sort of makes sense with the context of being sort of out of control, feeling out of control with your life and only being locked into specific options. It's very allegorical, but it's still not really fun to play. The characters themselves, they get introduced and it's just trope city. And as you go on, the characters sort of soften up and they get a little more personality. But I feel the development is still not present because you'll get some good growth in one scene, and then in the next scene they're back to being all annoying as if they did not learn anything. And I mean, I keep expecting Special Agent Dale Cooper to show up. I actually meant to get a coffee mug and do my intro with that, something involving black coffee, but I forgot and only remembered now. So. But what this really boils down to is most of the critique I have for the game is critique I would levy on a movie or a book or a story or a TV show. And while this is an interactive movie, this bills itself as a game. And then it really boils down to this is Dragon's Lair with teenage girls and time travel. I found that I would get into cutscenes and then realize, oh shit, I need to pick up my controller and do something to go to the next cutscene. I didn't hate playing it, but I would rather just, sit back and watch it. I did get to the end of episode 3 though, and they did have a bit of an oh shit moment, so I think I'm invested enough that I'm going to play the remaining 2 chapters. I'll still give it 2 chairs though. Not quite my thing, but not bad.
Yeah, Max is not a character. She's a pair of pants for a certain segment of the market to project into. I'm not dissing the tabula rasa syndrome. That's how many video games give that sense of immersion, by having the player project into their character. It makes sense. But Max isn't exactly a tabula rasa, though. She has a past, she has a history with many of the characters around her. It's just enough to stop her from being a complete blank slate, but nowhere near enough for her to be an actual character. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the rest of the game. The thing that separates video games from other forms of entertainment and art is the interactivity. After more than 3 hours of quote-unquote game time, the mistress here timed out. It's on a 5-minute timeout, whatever you're not using it, an activity timeout. And on several of the cutscenes, it timed out more than once. This is a very finely crafted narrative. Yes, but books, TV shows, movies, they also give you that. And this is just my opinion. There's a reason we call this the subjective part of the CHAIRQUISITION. My opinion is that a game lives or dies on its mechanics. And there's only one mechanic at play here. It's the time rewinding thing. And after resurrecting a bird which came flying headfirst into a window in the first episode, it's pretty clear that Max is Kronos, the goddess of time, or maybe she's Kronos' pet project for that particular week, judging by how the game plays out. But more on that later. Now, I may hear some of you saying, but Pedro, you didn't finish the game. Tell me again how my experience would have been any different playing all the way through the game instead of just watching a very good Let's Play like I did on YouTube. Oh, but it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. Fair point. I will give you that. In a video game, that destination spiel is often the best way to describe an experience. It's what creates those water cooler moments. But what use is the journey if the ending Tron 2000 gives you 2 choices which completely invalidate everything you did up to that point? Like I've mentioned before, I can enjoy my time with a game which has the single most inconsequential or incoherent story. I spent nearly 30 hours playing Bound by Flame, didn't I? I can do it, so long as the game has something else going for it. But story is all this game, and I hesitate to call it that, but story is all it has going for it. It's not just inconsequential, it's a slap to the face to anyone who spends the full 8 or 10 hours playing through it. So for me, it gets 1 chair.
All right, so that's a 1 chair from the fun segment, and if we tally that up, that's 2 chairs for Life is Strange. So, final thoughts, wrap it up nicely and not in a 20-paragraph thesis, Pedro.
Oh, come on, man. I really wanted him... Yeah, LGC apologizes. Pedro likes to write articles and just read them back poorly. No matter what you do... spoilers, run right now, because this is a little bit of a spoiler. Even with all the BS options you have during the game, it just boils down to a binary option, 0 or 1 at the end. And yeah, that every other decision that you made through the entire game doesn't mean fuck. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the ending is literally 2 choices, which, like I said, invalidate everything you did, because you either rescue
with spoilers, Pedro.
No. You either rescue person X and everyone is basically gone, or you don't rescue person X and everything you did up to this point is completely irrelevant. So next time BioWare decides to cock up a Mass Effect finale, they need only play through Life is Strange to see exactly how short of a full-blown disaster that Mass Effect 3 ending was. Send your hate mail to pedro@linuxgamecast.com.
No, you don't have to worry about anybody sending you hate mail. Everyone went up and got snacks and shit when you were reading.
Well, I mean, midway through, I think we had to call an intermission so people could pee.
Right.
You know what? I didn't hate this game. It is really an interactive movie, though. Whether or not you get the same benefit from watching it from a Let's Player and being a cheating little bitch like Pedro, or actually playing through the story and making choices, that's really up to you. That's what the 2 chair score means. It's not our collective bags, but you know what? If you're into it, give it a shot. Farrell's been porting Sweeney games. If this is successful, we may see some more stuff. And if, high school girls and their drama straight up don't interest you, don't play this game. I mean, it's not for you. Coming up next, we got some hate mail where we discuss who is our favorite boy band member of Linux Gamecast, the boy band.
Boys and girls, you know how I love me some hate mail. Yes, and we have some genuine hate. Well, at least towards me anyway. But if you'd like to send some hate our way, be it me, Ben, Jordan, what have yous, you can do so by going to linuxgamecast.com, hitting the contact button on the nav bar, and filling out the form. It's easy enough. You can also leave a comment on our Facebook page or our Google Plus posts, our Patreon posts, our Twitter tweets, whatever you want to call them. If you leave us a comment there and you reply us, we will probably feature your thing if it's worthy of it. So,
Patreons have the red phone too. So if you're a Patreon and you want to get our ears, just send us a message over there. We will get back to you. But up first is so I was getting some technical issues, and good old Rudy seems to have a solution. Jordan didn't have to create a new account. Get a Steam client to opt out of the beta. You can simply delete the file, .local, share, blah, blah, blah. It's in the show notes. You can check that out, or whatever else where you have Steam installed, and start Steam from the command line with the clear beta parameter. Although the latter option didn't work for me when testing it just now. So interestingly enough, of the panoply of things I did try, I did attempt to use the clear beta switch, and it didn't work. TIL about the file, though, and so can you. Up next.
Definitely when that happened, this just seems like security, login bullshittery. And turns out that's what it was, man.
It totally was. And it still baffles me why, some messed up login things cause just a straight up seg valve get on.
Hey, man, sometimes you got to fight stupid with stupid. All right.
Core dump.
Speaking of fighting stupid with stupid, up next.
Up next, Chad. He had some words to say.
Chad?
Sometimes I have to take my special pills because Pedro's argumentative wrongness annoys me so much. Then, at dawn, I dream of a show with Vet and Jordan spiced up with a rotating third host.
Wait, no, he does mean on a spit, too.
I was going to ask, on a wheel or on a spit, or how are they going to be rotating? Or are they going to be revolving?
They could have some, spinny chairs like this, but what have you? Well then, motherfucker, you can call me the fuck out on it whenever I do get something wrong. That's kind of how it usually goes. I say something real fucking stupid, people call me out on it, and I learn sometimes. But I enjoy a good discussion on the internet, so chances are we can get a little nice back and forth going. But
nice.
For the last bit. The last bit, if there are enough people willing to make this happen, I could be persuaded to take some Saturdays off. All we need is to have all of you listening / watching to voice your opinions.
Go ahead and get in the notes next week.
So remember, Pedro is holding your hostage for enjoyment. If you don't want to see him, then you need to give us money so we can fire him. Yeah.
Well, I didn't say anything about money. I was just asking for opinions. It's if there are enough people.
Watch him backing that up now, because he was totally going to say pay us.
No. If there are enough people who are willing to, or who hate me, as the case may be, I'm willing to, take a Saturday off or two. But. I'm not just going to do it for the one angry Scotsman. I know who you are, Chad. I know where you live. Google is kind of
He lives in Scotland, that one place on the map.
I don't know, man. You didn't see him like for the full hour before the show, before we went live. He was just like, Christ, I don't like me anymore, guys. I don't want to be in the show. And he came up with this excuse about his hard drive dying. It was just bullshit.
Right. The SSD dying was.
Nori was like texting me, and she's like, "What the hell did you guys do to him?" And it's like, it wasn't us, man. Somebody sent him a little bit of hate mail. He just can't handle it.
Yeah, but Ben, you bring up a good point about us being a triumvirate, as it were.
Well, I mean, this is one of the beautiful things about it, man. If you're playing the game known as Cocaine Voltron here at Linux Gamecast, one of the good things about it is your ability to pick your favorite character and whoever you want to play with during that episode. Giggity. That is hot as it sounds. And, unfortunately, we don't vote each other off the island, but, we do swap each other out every now and then. So,
it's just like a key party.
Yeah. Again, if there are a lot of people out there who genuinely hate me, I understand. Trust me, I have to live with myself
like in his head, he's like on this massive podium and all the people.
No.
He really is. Can someone please like dub Hitler's speech with Pedro's right now? That one video of like Hitler going nuts at the podium.
And I want a 10-hour version of that, because on that bombshell, let's go ahead and cue the music. You can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Time. Type that into your web zone. It'll probably give you an accurate estimation as to when that might be. I'm Vin Stone on the Twitter nets at Vin Stone. Scream at me there. I will get back to you, or at least click that heart button, because it's a button and I click it. Plus Vin Stone on the G pluses.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me making the trains go on time at the Burning Pool on Twitter, or plus Jordan Svung on Google Plus. It works because it's a fascism joke and a Life is Strange joke.
Okay, I am Pedro Mateos. I'm not even going to address that one. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter, or plus Pedro Mateos on Google Plus.
So at the end of the day, I think it's interesting and fun, and what will always keep this interesting and fun is we are three radically different people. Well, the only thing we have in common, like a lot of people in Shotwell, because we have a very low bar to entry. Get music, hey, do you run Linux? All right, come on. The beer volcano's over here, because that's how we do it.
Also a sheer hatred of Arch Linux. Just those guys are the worst. The worst.
And a slight concern over OCZ SSDs.
Blam.
Well, yes, hashtag blam.
Of all the days of the week it could pick, it picked Saturday night.
At least it didn't pick like 11.
Yeah. Like 5 dudes.